Something that I see a lot of players ask for is the introduction of bottle caps into Pokemon Go. This item would increase the IVs of any of your Pokemon, and I do think there's a lot of pros and cons to having an item like this within this game. Hey, how's it going everyone? Jinsula here with a brand new Pokemon Go video. I hope your day is going really well, and let's get right into it. So today I want to talk about bottle caps. This is an item that was in the mainstream games, and it's basically an item that would increase the IVs of any Pokemon that you use it on. And when it comes to Pokemon Go, this is an item that some players have actually been asking for a very long time, and I think the reason for that is because if you think about how Pokemon Go is designed, the absence of bottle caps does actually hinder the experience for different aspects of the game, like PvP as well as raid battles. Now, there's also other players who will say that an item like this would actually break Pokemon Go and ruin one of the fundamental aspects of this game, more specifically collecting 100% IVs by rolling dice on doing a whole bunch of raid battles. And I totally understand both sides. I feel like this item is something that could definitely make big changes in Pokemon Go, but it's only going to depend on if Niantic were to implement it correctly. So for this video, I kind of wanted to explore both sides of the argument, talk about why bottle caps would be a positive for Pokemon Go, as well as why it would be a negative. And I also want to explore how Niantic could implement bottle caps without actually breaking some of those core fundamentals of this game. So let's start this off by talking about the positives. Why should Niantic implement bottle caps into Pokemon Go? Well, to put it simply, it would be bad luck protection, because I think for a lot of players, they really want to get 100% IVs for certain Pokemon, and no matter how many times they raid and no matter how many times they catch that Pokemon, they just simply cannot get it. And the reason for that is, of course, because there is a lot of luck-based content within Pokemon Go. But the introduction of bottle caps would be a unique way to have bad luck protection in this game. If you're looking for a 100% IV Mewtwo, for example, and you just simply cannot get it after hundreds of raids, well, you could farm up bottle caps and just take one of your Mewtwo's and bring it up to 100% IVs. It's going to be more of a grind as opposed to just constantly rolling the dice, and I think something like that would bring a lot of stability to Pokemon Go, and it would be a way for players to actually work towards certain goals that they might have. Now, another positive of having bottle caps in Pokemon Go is that it would allow for certain competitive aspects of this game, like PvP, to actually be balanced and something that would be a lot more accessible to pretty much every single Pokemon Go player. Since the Go Battle League meta can be quite finicky with the various different Pokemon and their PvP IVs, this would allow players to actually have a competitive advantage over other players if they are to just grind it out for a whole bunch of bottle caps, because I think one of the big faults of PvP is the fact that it is so stats heavy. Like, if your Pokemon is one of the best Pokemon you could use within the Go Battle League meta, but it does not have the correct IVs, then it's going to lose out on mirror matches against other of the same Pokemon with better IVs. And I think this is something that Niantic has never been able to solve. I mean, especially when it comes to stuff like the Great League. Certain Pokemon are just going to be miles better if you have closer to rank 1 IVs compared to a counterpart that does not have rank 1 IVs. And this is a huge issue that could be resolved with the introduction of bottle caps, because it's going to make certain aspects of PvP a lot more streamlined, and you do not have to worry so much about stats as opposed to actually having a lot of different strategies and coordination. So I do think that the introduction of bottle caps would definitely help PvP and allow more players to get into this system. So yeah, these are two of the major reasons why the case can be made for Niantic to introduce bottle caps into Pokemon Go, and they are definitely really good arguments, and I especially want to agree with the PvP argument, because one of the reasons why I have a hard time getting into PvP is because I do not have the correct IVs for the right Pokemon. Even though I want to get into PvP with the Pokemon that I have, because I do not have the correct IVs, I just simply cannot compete with the people who are in the higher ranks that have the exact same Pokemon but the better IVs. So yeah, I really do think that bottle caps would vastly improve Pokemon Go, especially when it comes to the competitive aspect of it. So yeah, now we should get into the negatives. Why would players argue against the introduction of bottle caps and think that it would be something that would be detrimental for Pokemon Go? I think the biggest argument against bottle caps is simply down to people wanting to keep the value of their Pokemon. And I can totally understand that, because let's say a player is doing hundreds of raids for a particular legendary and they finally get a 100% IV of that legendary, and then for Niantic to introduce bottle caps and allow everyone to get 100% IVs of that legendary with little to no effort, I think that's going to rub players the wrong way, and I totally get that aspect of it, because this is a luck-based game. It is a game where the luckiest players are going to have the best Pokemon, and they're going to have the coolest, most powerful Pokemon in their collection, and for a lot of those players, the grind to get some of those Pokemon by continuously rolling the dice and doing raid battles is probably what is satisfying to them. But of course, it's not a fair system. It's not going to be something that everyone is going to benefit from. But this has been the way of the land, and for a lot of players that have been playing Pokemon Go for several years, adding bottle caps would be a huge disruption to how they've been playing. And for a lot of those players, they probably have a whole bunch of Pokemon within their collection that they would want to retain the value of, and I can totally understand that having bottle caps in the game would essentially devalue some of the Pokemon that they've caught. And you know, I'll be honest with you, I think this is a bit of a weak argument, because introducing bottle caps will not necessarily devalue a lot of Pokemon in your collection. Yeah, you're going to have certain Pokemon that a lot more players are going to have, but that's not necessarily going to be a problem. It's still the fact that you have those Pokemon, and there's plenty of ways Niantic could make it where your Pokemon are still going to be special. Maybe they could have it so that certain Pokemon that are 100% IVs before the introduction of bottle caps will have some sort of special effect on their graphic. I really do not know what they could do, but I think there's plenty of ways that Niantic could still retain the value of old 100% IVs and Shundos before they introduce bottle caps into this game. Now, that kind of leads me to the final part of this video, where I want to talk about how Niantic could add bottle caps into Pokemon Go without actually breaking the fundamental luck-based aspects of this game. And I think the biggest thing is that, well, they need to make it so that obtaining bottle caps is going to be almost as equal of a grind as getting 100% IV from raids. And I think a lot of players are going to look at this and raise their eyebrows, because at that point, what is going to be the point of introducing bottle caps? If you're still having to do as many raids as without bottle caps in order to get 100% IVs, then introducing bottle caps is kind of a moot point at that point. And I can understand that line of thinking, but you should consider that introducing bottle caps and having it be incredibly difficult to get is a way for you to have a little bit more player control. If there is a particular legendary that you want to get to 100% IVs, then doing a whole bunch of raids of a different Pokemon is what could potentially allow you to do that. And this would actually improve the gameplay overall, because certain raid bosses that you would opt to skip because it's a useless Pokemon is now suddenly relevant again because of the chances of you getting bottle caps through those raid rewards. So basically, in my opinion, I think it could work in Pokemon Go if they were to make it a super rare raid reward, and it's something that you could grind for to improve your Pokemon in your collection. And if they decide to not go this way, then I can totally see them monetizing bottle caps as an in-app purchase, and I feel like this would be completely pay to win, and it's something that Niantic should definitely not do. They're already introducing something called a Lucky Charm, and it's kind of like this, but I really do think that if anything, Niantic should just have it as a random reward from raids, and that's probably going to be the best way for them to monetize it. Because if they were to include bottle caps as some sort of, let's say, a special research reward, and it's something that you have to purchase, I think it's going to rub players the wrong way. Considering that so many players out there are asking for this item and Niantic just throws it as an in-app purchase, yeah, I think people are just going to see that as Niantic being incredibly greedy, and it's gonna actually break the game, in my opinion. I think as long as they make it a grind for you to get a bottle cap, it's definitely fine for them to introduce it. But at the end of the day, it's really just something that we could just speculate on and discuss, and maybe Niantic could cook up something that would actually be interesting around this item. And who knows, maybe they'll just never release bottle caps into Pokemon Go and we'll just continuously discuss about it and nothing will come about it. And I could totally see that being a thing with Niantic because they tend to go the way against what players are thinking, and sometimes it works, sometimes it definitely doesn't, and I really do think when it comes to bottle caps, they've kind of made it clear that they have no intention of ever introducing it into Pokemon Go, but who knows, they've always said the same thing about remote raid passes, and eventually they released that as well, so yeah, there is still the possibility that we will get bottle caps in the game, but if you're someone who is wanting this item in Pokemon Go, I wouldn't hold your breath. It's probably not going to come for a very long time. But in any case, that's going to be it for this video. Let me know your thoughts regarding bottle caps down below. Is this something that you would like to see get added into Pokemon Go, or are you completely indifferent when it comes to the introduction of this item? Or are you someone who is against the introduction of this item for various reasons? And I would like to know what those reasons are, so make sure you share them in the comments below so that we can have a great discussion. Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of this video. I'm Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, love yourself, and I'll catch you in the next one.